Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Mastering Dungeons, your favorite tabletop role-playing game podcast and stream, where we talk about game design and news. And I'm Shawn Merwin, and that right there, that's Teos Abadia. Hey, Teos, what's happening?
Ooh, Shawn, I'm doing well. Weekend was good. I got an incredible amount of stuff done towards all sorts of endeavors that can't even talk about. So that was good. I endeavored.
That you endeavored very well, I'm sure. I endeavored to not endeavor, and I succeeded.
Nice
in my endeavor to not endeavor. So yeah, that was
finally
good.
Slacking like the rest of us. Good job, Shawn.
I try. We wanted to say happy birthday.
Yeah,
happy birthday to third edition.
Oh,
third edition is 26 years old as of today, as we record the 10th of August, 2000. So, tip of a hat to the third edition, which really dragged D&D into the, I would say, the modern game design sphere.
It's true. It was the transformative edition, leaving that AD&D behind, basic, all that. Yeah. And I have good news for you. Speaking of old things, by which I mean names. That Drelnza that you had such a delight talking about. I was watching a video from Gen Con, and Justice Armand and Luke Gygax were there, and Luke had trouble with Drelnza, so you're not alone. Congratulations.
That's good. Drelnza. There, I did it. I'm never going to say it again. We're just going to keep taking that piece and putting it anytime that word comes up. But what is not a copy and paste are our listeners. They are all unique. They're all special in their own way. And we like to answer questions from them. Sometimes they talk to us via our Discord. Sometimes on YouTube, they leave a comment on social media like Mastodon or Bluesky. And they can even send an email to masteringdnd@gmail.com. So we have a lot of news to get to. And we have an amazing main segment today where we're going to talk to Adam Bradford. You want to talk about somebody whose vision has changed to D&D, and you might not even know the name, but you hang in there and you listen, because it just came to me that, like, we talk about why did 5th edition do so well, and we talk about Stranger Things, and we talk about the good rule set, and we talk about live actual plays. Mm-hmm. The digital tools that people could use to play that game were so robust, thanks to people like Adam, that literally revolutionized the way that you play D&D. So that's our main segment.
Adam's a blast, and he constantly will surprise us, I'm sure, in the show with what he does. Like, it would not shock me if he said that he was, an architect on his spare time, or a master chef. I would just believe it, because he just endlessly drops something he's also a master at. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. But he is now doing things like taking these amazing books and putting them into digital space in Free League Unbound. And so I'm excited to chat with him.
Yep. So hang in there for our main segment to hear us talk to Adam. But in our listener corner, we're going to take one question this week because we have a lot to get to. So Fox Trick via YouTube asks, TTRPG books often have incredible art, writing, and maps. Why don't more of them include soundtracks or ambient audio to help set the mood at the table? And what I will say is you are seeing more and more of this from companies, right? A lot of companies are now offering soundtracks, are offering audio as part of their Kickstarters or as part of their offerings. And I think it's great for people who want it. But we have to remember that as we learn more about neuroscience and neurodiversities, we need to learn about how information processing takes place, even sitting at a game table. Me personally, I am so distracted by too much sound, especially as a game master, as I'm trying to take information from several different inputs. Having some sort of sound be there is just one track that's filling up in my already limited brain. So I don't want audio. I want it as quiet as possible. But I can imagine that, unlike me, some people are getting more out of the experience because they have this auditory enhancement, ambient sounds, music, whatever. So it's probably something that should and could be studied and quantified as more money, as more investment is made into RPGs, to say, how many people actually like this? How many people use it? How can we make it something that does add to a game for more and more people?
Yeah. Yeah. We had the experience at the Descent event in Los Angeles. The folks from Sirenscape were there. And because they had that contract with Wizards. And so they were providing sort of all these like sounds in the background as we played and things like that. That's been cool. I've used it a few times in online games where it's easy to just keep that slider down so it's not too low, but you're not too loud, but you get a little bit. I think the thing that's, why don't we see it in more products is probably the cost and the challenges of making it work. And I'll tell you, my first ever trying to use music in a game was I had this perfect song by the band Faithless that I wanted to play for a Shadowrun combat scene. And I'm all excited, and the combat scene starts, and I hit play. And then I realized, this combat is like 45 minutes, and this song is like 3 minutes. And, even though it was a CD, and I could replay it, it got old so fast, right? And so then you realize, you can't just do you got to have it like evolve. And so you want this like background sort of loop, and and a lot of companies like Pocket Bard is out these days. I've used that a little bit. They've found ways to make that, and so you can hit sliders and effects. Jeff Mueller, who's been on this show, helping host, he uses this a lot in his games, and it's very cool. But it takes a lot of work and a lot of investment to get it right. And so I just think it's that challenge where most designers, most publishing companies, they just don't have that expertise to pull that off, nor the validation that they'll get the money for it, right? So I think that maybe if you saw like a Beetle and Grimm type company really take off with it, then others will follow suit. But nobody has really proven that value or return, let's say, on the value. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's where that sort of business dynamic of is there an ROI on this?
Yeah, and most of the companies that sell it as an additional thing have fallen by the wayside over the years or never really caught on. And so you see a company come up, it lasts a few years, and then another one, and so until you prove that value, I just think it'll be in that kind of random tools people use sometimes.
Yep. And we'll take one more question this week. We're going to take one from Kurt Ugel 4576 via YouTube. How do you personally manage your D&D character sheets, as they may often get bloated with features and gear? Do you write it all out, which is prone to errors? Do you note rules with page numbers? Do you copy the text from online? Or do you use a D&D character builder? When you are writing character features and the like, how much effort do you put into brevity and conciseness? This is a great question, especially considering we're going to talk to Adam Bradford later.
Yep.
Somebody whose work everyone or many people now use as they use the D&D Beyond character builder. I have experimented, I don't know about you, Teos, but I have experimented with various character sheets for myself over the years, but also just with 5th edition, as well as trying to create them for products I've worked on.
Yes.
And I am no graphic designer, so my efforts are generally horrific. When I think about beginners, I personally love the idea of breaking things down by action type. Right. If we're going to do a fully expanded, it's like, these are your actions. These are your bonus actions. This is how far you can move. But there's a problem with that, because if you include every action that a character might take, you also then are adding grapple. You are also adding shove. You are also, right? And what that does to a new player especially is say, oh, I'm a wizard. I could cast magic missile, or I could grapple.
Or
and
the
without
action.
Right. Or without the understanding of what that actually means, you have to tell the wizard, you know what? You are good at these things. You aren't great at grappling. It may sound like fun and be very theatrical or expressive for you to run up and grapple the dragon. But you're probably better off doing these things that your character is specifically set for. So going down that path of breaking it down very game mechanically can be a problem. And that's why Kurt in his questions talks about like making notes and copying text. I'm going to talk more about this, but Teos, I want to give you a chance here.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just touch on the design question part of it, that last sentence, because I thought it was very interesting with Daggerheart. When I first read those cards, you have all this card real estate, which isn't that much, but it's a fair amount. And I thought a lot of those cards were unnecessarily large. And so it was interesting to hear the designers say sort of like, yeah, we increasingly prize ourselves on using the fewest words possible, right? It's like they've realized, it just gets messy when you put all those extra words in there. And so being much, much more brief is actually better for the game. And it's true because I've seen Daggerheart cards that are wordy hit the table for a player, and that player just looks at that and they don't even use it anymore. And it might as well not exist, right? And that's part of the thing with design is there are some people who love complexity, but if you can find a way to give them complexity that isn't wordy, it's like a menu of choices, that will really pay off, right? Get the easy thing up front. There's also a great article that I read long ago about Magic the Gathering and how if you can create something that when you read it as a new player, you're like, ooh, great, I get extra life. Right. Yeah. But when you're an expert player, you know that being able to just whenever give yourself extra life is a way to throw off the other player and have a gotcha moment or you thought you had me, you overplayed, and now I just gave myself the life so I'm not dead. Right. That becomes 3D chess. Right. And so your one word that's very small or one little sentence does a lot for a lot of different players. And that's the goal with design is make it really brief, but rich or useful or has options, right? Then you're really knocking it all out of the park, which is hard. What are you going to say, Shawn?
Well, I'm going to say, brevity, they say, is the soul of wit, but brevity can be the bane of mechanical interaction, right? So you do want to be elegant, right? You want to keep it concise. But in game design, if you cut too many words, then you are now getting to the point where it becomes unclear. There are too many questions.
Yes,
I think of conditions when I think about this. Right, conditions paralyzed. What does paralyzed mean? And you look at the 2014 rules for that condition, and it says you cannot move or talk. But what does move mean? Does move mean you cannot use your speed to move from the space you're in to a different space? Or does it mean you literally could not move your pinky
grab
finger?
A thing next to you? Or
right. And so that definition, and now they've said, right, your speed becomes 0 and it cannot be increased, but it doesn't say you can't move. So now the question is, can I still use sign language? I can't speak.
Can I pick a thing off the table that's next to me? Can I? Yeah.
Right. And these sorts of things can become unclear with too many words, but they can become unclear with too few words.
Brilliant. Yeah.
So getting that information to a player, especially a new player, in a very abbreviated fashion is a goal, but it's a goal that needs to be carefully studied to make sure that you are getting all of the relevant information to the player.
And I think this is also a brilliant question where I think designers really should take the thing they design and put it on a character sheet and see what it looks like. Because we realize then when we've gone too far, and I'll give an example of, I think it was 2 years ago at Winter Fantasy, I was running a 2024 Bard that I'd upgraded it or whatever, or revamped it to 2024. And this Bard has so many options for bonus actions. Not only the core things you think about where I can, inspire you, but just, the first time I cast this kind of spell, I can do this. And if this happens, then I can do this. And all these things are bonus actions. And the number of options I had. So I made myself a menu, right? Because I need to understand to be effective, I have to have those things written down and be able to quickly tick them off. This condition was met, so I can do that thing. And I get this one once for free. And so I did a lot of that, and I played very effectively, but it was a mess. And I'd say it took me that first 4-hour adventure to get into the swing of things. And had I been playtesting rather than just playing, I would have said, this needs to be toned down, right? This is just, it's like, I can't expect people to do the work that I did. So you've made it what I would term unplayable in terms of unplayable as it's supposed to be. You're going to do it badly, right? Or incompletely or whatever. And that's fine. You can still have fun, but it's just too much. And I do think that it's important for designers to look at that and yeah, how do you write this all down on that character sheet? There's only so much space, right? And you run into that problem all the time when you try to print a character out.
Yeah. One of the joys and challenges is differentiating between new players and existing or experienced players, and how much you can get away with cutting for the new player versus leaving in or adding for the experienced player. And we're not even talking about actual game design and adding new features to a game. Oh, we're going to be making more feats, more subclasses, more spells. Mm-hmm. And how can we integrate our new content in a way that works well with the existing content versus bloat in the worst sense of the word of, like Teos said, I now have 27 different bonus actions I can do, and I don't know which one is best for every or any opportunity. So,
yeah, and you can see, 2014, that vision was bonus actions are just ways to capture these sort of features that we want to have really stand out, right? The monk doing that, the fist just going, right? We want to have the capture of the rogue being able to do these surprise things to get out of danger or surprise their foe. We want the bard to be able to inspire their friends, right? But then what happens is a subclass is designed and it goes, well, you know what? That would be cool as a bonus action. Well, now that load gets added, and the more, and if another class feature or whatever. So as all of that adds up, suddenly what was a very elegant chassis becomes really convoluted because of all these other parts. And then you might get a magic item or a spell or whatever, and now you have just so many more options, and it becomes cluttered. And that's it is tough, right? But it's also, as we know, wonderful because new features and new things, and isn't it great? And a very tactical person like me might have a blast with it, but I do think it's too much, and the game is better when it pays attention to that character sheet. So I think it's a really astute question.
It really is. It really is. Let's jump right into our news and commentary here. We are going to start with an update on the Diamond bankruptcy. Teos, what's going on there?
Oh man, what a mess if you've been following this. And the big deal here is around that aspect where, if you remember, that when it went bankrupt, it had on consignment all of these products. And this came out recently because Paizo disclosed what a terrible year they'd had, in part because all of this product was locked up at Diamond. And Diamond and its owner, which is Sparkle Pop, that is part of Ad Populum and owns WizKid, they started sort of selling off that property, claiming it was theirs. And the reason they claimed it was theirs is because they owe these banks all this money. So it's all just bad corporate stuff piling on it. Well, the companies that had all this consignment started saying, look, give us back our stuff. Diamond sued those companies to force them to give up on the product, like reverse lawsuit, right? Like, I'm suing you so that you can't even sue me, right? And to try to force them to just deal and get out. Well, they countersued collectively, a number of them. The settlement gives about $600,000 to Diamond in exchange for those companies being able to, that were part of the settlement, getting back their goods. They also have a way in which Sparkle Pop selling off that inventory that they weren't supposed to. Some of that, about $50,000, will be put into an escrow account to account for the fact that they did that. If it's found that they sold more, there's ways that the companies can go after it. So it isn't great, but nobody necessarily, it's one of those deals, nobody would be happy about this, but they gave up some money. In return, they get their products back. And if you heard our coverage of the Paizo story, one of the big things about it is it prevents Sparkle Pop from liquidating the warehouse and flooding the market with cheap products. So Paizo, especially because they had so much inventory, their concern was the products, not only do we not own those products, they're going to be just chucked in and valued so low that we won't be able to sell properly. So now they get that back and they can do that. So maybe this ends a big chapter in the Diamond saga, Shawn. We'll have to see how it plays out over time, but at least a big part of it seems to be behind us.
Yeah, thank goodness. Well, what's ahead of us is PAX West. And Baldman Games is calling for dungeon masters. They want you to come DM Legends of Greyhawk, Learn to Play, and an Arcana Unleashed preview. We have a link in our show notes, or you can go to baldmangames.com/PAX West 2026. Are you going to be at PAX West this year,
I will indeed be there helping helm the show. So come on over and join us. We'd love to have our DMs, especially folks who've done great jobs for us in the past. It's always neat. Lots of new and casual players, as well as some diehards. So it's a super neat convention to work.
There you go. You go to PAX West and you get to touch Teos Abadia. You've heard it here first.
That's not
with permission.
There we go.
And make sure your vaccinations are up to date. Yes, I said it. Well, what you don't need vaccinations to go to is the Gamehole Con, although it might help.
No, you do actually, but
yeah, anyway. you kind of do. Not certain ones, but what we're trying to get to here is that Gamehole Con is having a special event that was just announced, and it's the PoC Industry Dinner. It's being sponsored this year by Monty Cook Games and Brotherwise Games, and they're hosting this for PoC people of color to come together for a networking opportunity and dinner at Gamehole Con. So you get your chance to meet with other creators, find mentorship, and grow the diversity in our industry. But seating is limited. If you are attending Gamehole Con, you're a PoC and you create tabletop content of any size, including self-published work, you can apply. We have a link in our show notes, but the applications are coming due on August 23rd, so get on it immediately and share this around to those who you think might be interested. Teos, you've attended this event before. Can you tell us a little about it?
It's fantastic. It's a really great time. There's the organizers work to kind of split everybody up and then kind of move you around. So you're meeting different people. You're sharing stories either as folks who are playing a sort of a role of a mentor or the mentees. And it's been great. Like I see a lot of people that when I met them, say 3 years ago, not a lot, they had a few things that were involved in, and now I see their names in really cool places. And so it really can be a place that can help you make connections, think through how you want to approach your career and advance it in some way. So definitely apply. If you're going to be at Gamehole Con, if you can afford to, if you're already planning, if it's close to you, if it's not going to put you out, then it's well worth it to also come to this event and be a part of it. It really is an event that can pay off. So would love to see you there.
There you go. That's our news and commentary this week. Stick in here, stick in there, hang in here, stick in there. Just come back and listen to our main topic this week as we talk to Adam Bradford and we hear all of the amazing things that Adam has done over the years, starting with D&D Beyond, going to Demiplane, going to Fantasy Grounds and Smiteworks and beyond.
And designing. Adam's brilliant.
Doing all sorts of things.
Shawn and I get to talk to him at Gamehole often, and every time it's just a joy. We know you'll love this too.